which is above all of us, shall preach forevermore because we are immortal.
This album's great. After the crazy world of Arthur Brown ended, Mr. Brown wanted to start a new album that focused more on a solid concept. If I remember right, he wanted the crazy world of Arthur Brown to be a full-on concept album, but he got pushback from the label and they said, you can make half of it a concept and the other half you have to have more traditional songs, which I wouldn't call some of those traditional. A few years later, he created the group Arthur Brown's Kingdom Come, and they released their first effort, which was Galactic Zoo Dossier. The album touches on religion, politicians, and their positions of power, and psychedelic stuff, I guess. The hippie movement at this point was pretty much dead or dying, and like their then counterparts Black Sabbath, Brown wanted to push away from that a bit and look back at it at a different angle. A few years earlier, around the Crazy World of Arthur Brown era, he did Give 'Em a Flower, which is probably the most hippie song you'll ever hear in your life.
Give him a flower. Give him a flower.
And now he wanted to bring a more aggressive approach to it. Probably not aggressive in his eyes or anyone else's eyes, but the album is definitely punchier. It definitely has more of a purpose, more of an attack. As a kid, I was obsessed with this album. It felt like the holy grail of music, mostly because mid-2000s, who the hell's listening to Arthur Brown, you know what I'm saying? I often compared it with Dark Side of the Moon, with how seamlessly, mostly, all the songs blend together with ease. Over the years, I have softened that approach and have come to accept this album as its own beast, and I do consider it a weird beast of an album. Galactic Zoo Dossier has its toes in a little bit of everything. I personally think the album leans heavy on the heavy rock and progressive tendencies a la Black Sabbath, and a hint of Jethro Tull's Passion play in there. There's a little jazzy and keyboard-led sections that harken back to Pink Floyd quite a bit, more so on the Syd Barrett era. One thing that stands out is its fantastic and weird production. The songs sound so fresh for the most part, with Internal Messenger, Gypsy Escape, and Sunrise taking lead in that aspect. You then have some very creative editing choices, like with Metal Monster doing an all-too-perfect sound of a disc skipping in 1971, Creation doing a very similar effect, and then eventually doing this speed up, pitch up, rising climax, which is effective in the drama of the album and the song, but it genuinely hurts my ears most of the time whenever I'm listening to it, especially with earbuds. While the album seems fairly balanced production-wise, there are a few moments where it just straight up falters, mostly in the synth sound, like on Simple Man, where the ending synth notes seem to be stabbing my eardrum on an otherwise very calm song. Even on my favorite song of the album, Sunrise, they drenched the whole thing in reverb, so it almost sounds like they are playing in a cave. And as gloomy and doomy as a guy I am, that sometimes it's just a bit overwhelming. Sometimes less is more. Luckily, they fixed that on an alternative version of the song, which is the exact same performance with a lot less reverb, which I usually gravitate towards. It's more subdued and to the point. Performance-wise, everyone is on fire, with Michael Harris on keys really having a ton of moments to shine throughout the entire ride. Andy Dalby on lead guitar having some mean hard rock tones while also knowing when to pull back and play bluesier when needed. The rhythm section of Desmond Fisher on bass and Martin Steer on drums feels like a true unit bouncing off each other in a fantastic fashion. There are a ton of moments on the album where you can just feel the band vibing together and bouncing off each other very beautifully, but I feel like Gypsy Escape really exemplifies the musician aspect of it. They're so tight, it's technical when it needs to be, and it's every time I hear that ending section of Gypsy Escape, I get goosebumps. I'm getting goosebumps just now thinking about it. It's a very intense ending, and it's really heavy, and it's proggy in parts. It's 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. While I consider The Crazy World of Arthur Brown an underrated classic and mandatory listen, if you haven't listened to the album, go stop this video and go listen to that album too. I feel like this album really showcases Arthur Brown's talents across the board, and it also helps that he has a fantastic backing band to just really elevate his performance. To the softer spoken moments like on Simple Man, more soulful, lamenting, passionate belting on my favorite song, Sunrise, the poetic and prophetic preaching on creation, and a bit of that crazy world energy on songs like Internal Messenger and No Time.
Let's do it now.
Overall, this album is it's just great. I mean, you could argue that some songs aren't as great standing alone by themselves, but this is the type of album that builds on itself. What's that Family Guy meme?
It insists upon itself, Lois.
What?
It insists upon itself.
What does that even mean?
I mean, yeah, it might insist upon itself a little bit, but you could listen to Gypsy Escape on its own and have a good time. Or you could start with the song Creation to build that momentum and have a more complete experience of Gypsy Escape. Spaceplex on its own is fun, but if you listen to Internal Messenger going into Spaceplex, it's a more complete and fulfilling listening experience. It's also worth noting that over the last 10 years, like for the important anniversaries, Arthur Brown has been doing like deluxe 50th anniversary editions of albums and reissues. And I got 2 copies of Galactic Zoo Dossier. I didn't know I put a number 2 on there, but I got 2 copies, and he signed one of them May 29th, 2019. So about six years ago almost. And it's just, I can't gush about this album anymore. It is a great album. I guess it's part hard rock album, part psychedelic, and there are definitely some proggy elements to it. I feel like everyone on that sort of spectrum of genres will find something to really appreciate. Again, my favorite songs are Sunrise, Gypsy Escape, Internal Messenger. No Time at the closing out the album is great. Just when you hear Metal Monster and Creation, just be ready to have your senses tested a little bit. It does test you a bit. So yeah, Galactic Zoo Dossier, great album. You should check it out. Arthur Brown's great. He's still going. I forget when I saw Arthur Brown, but I saw him in Chicago. I think it was his first American tour in, like 30, 40 years or something, but I saw him in Chicago and he still sounds great. He was doing Zim Zam Zim, and yeah, it was just a fun performance. It's an Arthur Brown video, so I guess I have to do the obligatory clip of
I am the god of hellfire, and I bring you fire. I'll take you to burn.
I saved it for the end though. Okay, album's great. Bye.